Good morning, everyone. I am live. Never usually happens, but I'm live. Wanted to go over this breaking news that's happening right now. Pulling up the chat in my other window. Hope everyone is doing well. How are you? Hope everyone's doing okay today. I'm going to hang on for a second. If you guys are listening to this later, I just want to let everyone know this is a live stream about Michael Cohen. I'm going to share this really quickly on my Twitter page so that everybody knows to come in. I want to break this down for people quickly because it's something that I've studied for a really long time, and I think I'm pretty positive I know exactly what's happening right now. So I'm just going to share this on Twitter really quickly, and then we'll get into it because I happen to, in this case, have a wide body of knowledge about this story. All right. So I see you guys all in the chat. Please be kind to one another and me inside the chat. So we've got all this flurry of activity today about Michael Cohen and the special counsel, right? And this is the thing. I have been saying for nearly a year that Michael Cohen is an interesting character because of his ties to one Felix Sater. I want you to remember that I did a whole series on Felix Sater, who has kind of like disappeared into the ethers, right? We haven't heard much about Felix Sater at all. And it stems back from, I went back decades with Felix Sater, who happened to be a childhood friend of one Michael Cohen. Michael Cohen was the one who brought Felix Sater into the Trump sphere way back in the day, in the day. And in the videos that I did explaining Felix Sater's history, I mentioned that Trump realized a while back that he was a bad egg. And in several newspaper articles that were written about it, basically said, sometimes you just don't know somebody until you know somebody, right? So Felix Sater, a criminal in his own right, and that's true. Felix Sater was involved in all kinds of crimes back in the day, all kinds of crimes. And some of them violent, including assault, financial, all kinds of stuff. And ended up working with the government, okay? He ended up working with Loretta Lynch in New York. He was a U.S. intelligence asset of the highest order, okay? He was responsible for finding suitcase nukes, all kinds of crazy, like high level. As a matter of fact, when Loretta Lynch was being confirmed as Attorney General in the hearings for that, they asked her about Felix Sater and what he knew or what he did with her and why because basically Felix Sater was required to pay restitution to the victims of the crimes that he had perpetrated. And he got out of that through the government's participation. And when the campaign happened, Michael Cohen, Felix Sater, friends for a really long time, Felix Sater with ties to Russia, in quotes. Felix Sater is a real estate developer. Felix Sater is working on a real estate development deal in Moscow for Donald Trump. Now, none of the deals that Sater ever brought to Trump came to fruition. Literally none of them. Now, this one particular deal for this building in Moscow, but like right in the beginning of the campaign in 2015, there was a letter of intent brought to Donald Trump by Michael Cohen. Donald Trump signed the letter of intent to develop these buildings in Moscow. Now, let's remember, okay? Let's remember. Back then, there was no Trump-Russia collusion nonsense. This was just, a businessman doing business in a country. This is really, really not a big deal, especially not back then. It may be a big deal now, but not for the reasons they're telling you. So Cohen is behind this real estate deal, and Cohen and Sater throughout the campaign maintained contact. And Sater is responsible for all of these emails to Michael Cohen about our boy getting elected because Putin himself is going to help, like completely overt, ridiculous. Russia's going to help Donald Trump get elected emails, like basically saying like, I'm going to get Ivanka to go and sit in Putin's chair, like really crazy. I did a thread on it. And we're going to go through the thread in a second. Basically, Sater is yet another intelligence asset that was somehow in the Trump sphere, outside of Stefan Halper and, all the rest of them. Sater was another one who had very, very, very closely worked with the US government as an intelligence asset. So now we're seeing all of this stuff come out today about Michael Cohen lying about his contact with Russians and a real estate deal. This is it. It's the Sater connection. Sater was supposedly working on a development deal in Russia. The project fell apart. Cohen lied to investigators inside of Congress, apparently, about his dealings in terms of this building in Russia. Okay? So the issue here with Cohen has nothing to do with Donald Trump and collusion. It has to do with Cohen and Sater. And I'm going to guarantee you, I'll bet my life on it, that within the next 24 to 48 hours, Felix Sater is going to make another appearance into the sphere here on this supposed Russiagate scandal. So back in April 10th, 2018, as you can see, April 10th, 2018, did a thread on Cohen. And I said, I don't think that he's a really good guy. I've been looking at him and people were a little upset with me. Well, Cohen's Trump's attorney, blah, blah, blah. Listen, I also made the point during all of this too, that Trump basically said, okay, Cohen, step down from Trump International and you can have a position in the cabinet. He stepped down. What happened? No position. Was he hired back? No. I'm just going to say that I think that the reason why he wasn't hired back is because Donald Trump knows all of this. So Mueller gets him on all this stuff and with taxi medallions and blah, 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 because he's a freaking obviously not a good guy, right? And he's been pressuring him to give some information about something. Now, I don't know at this point what the angle is. I just know that the mainstream media is freaking out about Cohen supposedly flipping on Trump. And I'm here to tell you that this is all about Felix Sater. I'm going to guarantee it to you. I would be blown away if Felix Sater didn't come back into the picture within the next 24 hours. I'm telling you. So let's just go through this thread that I did back in the day. In April, we know that Mueller is investigating Sater because Sater went on an all-out media blitz recently and basically admitted it while trying to cover his butts. Here's an article. Businessman says Trump sent him to Russia to look after his whatever. They had all kinds of media stories about it. I clipped a part here. Sater said he's now speaking out because of his longtime intelligence work on behalf of the U.S., and his name has continued to surface in the congressional and special counsel investigations into Trump and Russia. Sater says he has spoken with the House and Senate intelligence committees, but he won't say whether he's spoken to Mueller's team. I can't answer about anything that may be ongoing investigation, Sater said Friday. True, except you could say if you've spoken to them, you could say that. I choose not to, Sater said. Sater denied there was ever any money exchange or any effort to build a relationship between Donald Trump, the Trump Organization, and Russia. In the research into Sater, it's revealed that he and Cohen are childhood friends with a long relationship. You can find it in the articles linked below my video. Here's the email that Sater sent to Cohen regarding Putin. This is literally what it says. It says, Michael, I arranged for Ivanka to sit in Putin's private chair at his desk and office in the Kremlin. I will get Putin on this program and we will get Donald elected. We both know no one else knows how to pull this off without stupidity or greed getting in the way. I know how to play it and we'll get this done. Buddy, our boy can become president of the USA and we can engineer it. I'll get all of Putin's team to buy in on this. I will. It is overt, ridiculous, over the top, and too much so. It is exactly like the emails between Papadopoulos, who was arrested because of what Trump provided. Glaring stuff. Like, take me now, I'm colluding with Russia. I mean, how much more overt can you get than that, right? These exchanges were between Sater and Cohen. Cohen was never on the campaign with Trump. And as a matter of fact, the campaign distanced themselves from him. And I shared some links. Trump distances himself from top aide's rape comment. The campaign also distanced itself from Cohen, who has spent weeks appearing on multiple television news shows, including CNN's New Day, to play up Trump's candidacy for president and defend the campaign from attacks from Trump's primary opponents. Quote, Michael Cohen is a corporate employee and is not affiliated with the campaign in any way, Lewandowski told CNN. Remember that name, Lewandowski. Also, in my research on him, before the taxi story even came out back then, I found this from 2017. House Intelligence Committee subpoenas Trump's personal attorney. In the early 2000s, he formed his own firm working on a range of legal matters, including malpractice cases, business law, and work on ethanol business in the Ukraine. Cohen also owned and operated a handful of taxi medallions, managing a fleet of cabs in New York. Cohen's business associates in the taxi enterprise included a number of men from the former Soviet Union, including his Ukrainian-born father-in-law. Cohen has made his own unsuccessful attempts at public office, losing a city council race and briefly running for state assembly in New York. Anyway, back to Mueller. So we know that Mueller's investigating Sater and Deripaska. Deripaska's come back into the news also over the past couple days. And we know that there were emails exchanged between Sater and Cohen containing overt Putin interferes here in the election statements. In Manafort's indictments, we also have a statement where they mention Deripaska. Okay. So while Mueller is investigating the overt and poor spycraft and has subpoenas that we've not heard publicly about yet working, I speculate that he was looking into Cohen's finances and noticed he was involved in some tax evasion with the medallion biz and others. So as per the requirements of the special counsel, he reported this to Rod Rosenstein, and Rod Rosenstein referred it to the New York office to investigate. So now this is what got Robert Rosenstein involved in that. Mueller was investigating Sater for his emails to Cohen and goodness knows what else, right? We haven't seen any leaks regarding that from the team at that point, which was April. But I'm telling you, Sater is a problem, and he always has been. And I'm going to pull it up right now. Hold on. I did the video. It says, you say Sater, I say another spy. There it is. 8 months ago, March 16th, 2018, I did this video all about Felix Sater, all about him. And here is the congressional sort of hearings for Loretta Lynch where they talk about Felix Sater. And here is Loretta Lynch's response to the question. Senator Hatch asks Loretta Lynch about Felix Sater. On April 25th, 2013, Professor Paul Castle of the University of Utah testified before the House Judiciary Subcommittee on the Constitution regarding implementation of crime victims' rights statutes. These included the Mandatory Victim Restitution Act and the Crime Victims Act, both of which I helped to enact. He suggested your office has failed to follow these statutes in a sealed case involving a racketeering defendant who had cooperated with the government. Specifically, he cited documents appearing to show that your office failed to notify victims of the sentencing in that case and had arranged for the racketeer to keep the money he had stolen from victims, even though the law makes restitution mandatory. Explain in detail how your office protected the rights of crime victims in this case, and in particular, how it complied with the mandatory restitution provisions of these two statutes. Her response. The defendant in question, Felix Sater, provided valuable and sensitive information to the government during the course of his cooperation, which began in December 1998. Listen to this. For more than 10 years, he worked with prosecutors from my office, the U.S. Attorney Office for the Southern District of New York, and law enforcement agents from the FBI and other law enforcement agencies, providing information crucial to national security and the conviction of over 20 individuals, including that were responsible for committing massive financial fraud and members of La Cosa Nostra. For that reason, his case was initially sealed. During my most recent tenure, The office's only activity related to this matter was to address whether certain materials should remain sealed. The initial sealing of the records regarding to Sater, and she goes on and on and on. And Sater, when Sater first came out about all of this, when he started blabbing, he went into detail about what he did. And I can't play sound because for some reason when I do this, sound doesn't come across on the live stream. But he went into detail about what he did and how involved he was. Felix Sater was a major U.S. intelligence asset, no doubt about it, with strong connections to Loretta Lynch. I'm only telling you this because I'm telling you that this Cohen thing is because of Felix Sater. And I don't know exactly what was going on between Cohen and Sater this entire time or how involved Cohen was, but I'm telling you right now that Sater was put in there as a plant. I'm telling you. Sater, his affiliation to Cohen was a plant. He was a plant. And this is all circling back now. Why now? Probably because the crap's about to hit the fan, guys. I have been working for the past 3 days on some major stories for you guys. One of them involving Papadopoulos. And a lot of people are getting sick and damn tired of hearing about Papadopoulos. But I got to be honest, it's really important, and I'm going to keep covering it. Because Papadopoulos met in Israel with an NSA-connected former intelligence agent that he dropped right before he went off to prison for whatever his sentence is going to end up being. So basically, Papadopoulos, the people that gave him the $10,000 in Israel, well, those guys are former Israeli intelligence that have worked with the NSA. Why the heck is Papadopoulos the innocent Papadopoulos? I mean, he's got a lot of questions to answer, okay? He's got a lot of questions to answer. And I'm sorry, I am not about to just take the, oh, he was set up thing. It's too much. It is too much. I'm sorry. It's too much. And I just can't. I can't just roll over on all of these glaring red flags that I've got. And, you know, like last week, there were pictures again circled out with him and Simona and what's his name? Tom Arnold. I just got to tell you, who else took photos with Tom Arnold? Michael Cohen. I'm telling you, something's going on here. Do I know exactly what it is? No, I would be lying to you if I told you I figured out exactly what's happening here. But I'm telling you, we've been seeing rumblings of these indictments coming out, of these prosecutions of the Clintons, of all of this stuff. Trump is tweeting out some crazy things about putting people behind bars and treason. And this is the way they're choosing to move forward with this, okay? This is the way they're choosing to move forward with it. And I'm telling you that this Michael Cohen freakout today has everything to do with Felix Sater, the letter of intent from 2015, and that deal in Russia. And at the time, remember, even if Donald Trump was exploring building a building in Russia, it's not a crime. There was this Russian collusion thing was nothing. It wasn't even a glimmer in somebody's eyelashes back then. This entire thing is nonsense. Is nonsense. I'm looking at the chat here. You guys are all obviously very engaged here and very concerned. It's easy. And the only reason why I'm saying this is because of the research I've done. And I would implore you guys, honestly, I say this a lot, but I mean it this time. This video that I did on Cohen only has 29,000 views. And I really would like for you guys to go back and watch it from March 16th of 2018. How long is it? Hold on. It's 34 minutes long. It's 34 minutes long. Please watch it. Educate yourselves on Felix Sater and his connections to Michael Cohen. So everybody take a breath. Don't freak out yet, because I'm telling you, it's a Sater thing. And the other thing I find interesting is why Donald Trump, this is all coming out after Trump submits his questions, right? His answers. Now, the other things it has been like nothing but a flurry of activity over the past couple days between Jerome Corsi and Roger Stone and Randy Credico and all of this stuff going on. And then I just got to say, it's super interesting that Corey Lewandowski is still getting meetings with Donald Trump while certain other people are unable to get anywhere near. Lewandowski's book, I downloaded it and I paid for it. And I'm really, really, really excited to read it. So again, to recap what we talked about, Felix Sater, Stefan Halper, I'm thinking Papadopoulos, to be honest with you. I'm not positive on it yet. Carter Page, Mifsud Likely, who else? All of them have connections to U.S. intelligence. So watch the media freak out. Remember to apply the fudge rule, guys. Remember to apply the fudge rule. Because there's going to be a flurry of stuff that comes out. Half of it'll be true. Half of it'll be, sources say. I would really like to look at some documents. I would really like to look at some court docs at some point today. But yeah, this is just I'm honestly, I'm nearly certain. You see, Cohen says he submitted a false written statement to Congress in 2017 concerning a Trump Organization real estate project in Moscow. And the overt email, Let's just, actually, you know what? Hold on a second. Hold on. Felix Sater, the Russian-born one-time business associate of Donald Trump's, who worked to build a Trump Tower in Moscow, says then business magnate asked him to look after his kids when they were pursuing business deals in Russia. Not a crime to pursue business deals in Russia. The president asked me to be in Russia at the same time to look after them. The Trump Organization's general counsel has said previously Sater was not accompanying the Trump children in Moscow, and Trump himself has downplayed his connections to Sater. Sater, a mob-linked felon turned FBI informant, is speaking out now after he's figured prominently amid questions about Trump's connections to Russia for his role in trying to land a Trump Tower in Moscow in late 2015 and early 2016 while the presidential campaign was underway. Trump signed a letter of intent in the Moscow deal, which was a non-binding agreement, but the venture was ultimately scuttled in 2016. That's basically all I've got on that. But again, I have been looking through into the Terragence is the company, and this is who right before Papadopoulos went out to jail, he mentioned Shai Arbel. Arbel served as the head of a linguistics and technical translation team in one of the most prestigious units of the Israeli Defense Intelligence in the IDF. Following his service, he joined the Israeli Security Agency, taking a position as an analyst. Then he started Terragence, which was involved in a lot of controversy because they were harvesting Facebook photos to do basically Oppo research for companies. So I've been dealing with this story. They're in the WikiLeaks in the Stratford dumps. So now we have a Papadopoulos who's connected to Israeli intelligence and got paid by Israeli intelligence as per the Mueller sentencing guidelines. This stuff just keeps getting crazier and crazier. I don't even know what to say anymore. I'm trying my best to pin down these connections and put them all into a big mind map for everybody. But I'm telling you, the pace is speeding up now. The pace is speeding up very, very rapidly. And still suspect to me, Cohen, Sater, Papadopoulos, still suspect to me. I don't care what anybody says. I just don't care. I don't care what anybody says. I was hoping that I'm blessed and honored to be speaking at the American Priority Conference next week. I was hoping that when I was there, George Papadopoulos was supposed to be there. And I was hoping that when I was there, I would be able to get the time to speak with him and ask him some of these questions. but I don't know if he's going to be there. And then let's talk again, real quick, being that I've got you guys. Let's talk again about Julian Assange, okay? So and also the Epstein thing that just, oh my goodness, the news is busy. So Julian Assange is texting or working with Adam Waldman. And I went over all of this when John Solomon started publishing all of his stuff and those signal messages came out. And don't you remember when I told you guys that they had different sources because we looked at the carriers. We looked at the carriers on the messages that were released from the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence versus the messages that were released in John Solomon's article, and the text bubbles were in different positions and the carriers were different, and we tried to nail down where those were coming from. Well, we were able to figure out that Adam Waldman, lobbyist who worked with Deripaska, Assange, and Christopher Steele was also working with the FBI, with Dan Jones, with Warner on the Senate Judiciary Committee, and trying to broker a deal through James Comey so that he would be safe and he wouldn't leak the Vault 7 leaks. The deal ultimately fell apart. James Comey decided that it wasn't worth, because Julian Assange wanted to go in and testify that it wasn't Russia that gave him the stuff, okay? So it ended up being that James Comey didn't want that, and the deal fell apart. And it appears that Assange wasn't interested in lying about where he got the information from. That's the foundation of the whole my Russia. Oh my God, Russia. The whole foundation of it is the WikiLeaks and Guccifer too, the fake hacker. So when Assange wanted to come in and tell the truth about that, Comey said, I'd much rather sacrifice the CIA secrets than have this whole thing fall down around me. Adam Waldman is working with Assange. Assange is a big key to all of this. Now, I'm not about to speculate about what's really going on with him, if he's in the United States, if he's not in the United States, where he is, what the deal, I don't know. And at this point, given the fake news that came out with Manafort supposedly traveling over to Russia, to the UK to meet with Assange, we know that that's bull now. And the Glenn Greenwald had a thread today that came out that basically circled all of this around and said, now they're coming out with stories saying intelligence assets lied to them to get this out there. And then it's a crazy, crazy time right now. I'm telling you, it hasn't been this rapid in so long. Something is brewing. Whew. So, hey, there it is, guys. I will again, if you're watching this back later on, you're watching a live stream, so bear with me as I look at the comments here. Does anybody have any questions that I might be able to answer about something that I've said? Because this is super complicated. Super complicated. Hi. I'm going to wait a second. Mm-hmm. All right. I'm not seeing any. Oh, Epstein. Yeah, so the Miami Herald comes out with this massive article on Epstein. Oh, I haven't even gotten through a quarter of it. It's a 3-part series. Of course, they throw Trump's name in there. We all know what happened with Trump and Epstein. It's a non-issue to me. It is concerning that they socialized together, but it is heartening that he dumped that shit like a hot potato, excuse my French. So I'm interested to see what comes of this, because as Technofog on Twitter pointed out a long time ago, Mueller cut a deal with Jeffrey Epstein. It's inside of all of the declassified files that were declassified by who? They were declassified by Trump. Thank you for the super chats, guys. You guys are fantastic. Really helpful. Thank you so much. So Excuse me, hold on. So now we're going to have to look into this story. I'm going to dissect that too. So let me just give you a 30,000 foot view of what's on my plate right now and why I've been so quiet the past couple days, because I have. I am looking into Papadopoulos and his last tweet about the former Israeli intelligence officials he decided to meet with right before he came back to the United States. I am going to be continuing to hammer home this Cohen Seder thing. I want to be doing a piece on this Jerome Corsi, Roger Stone, Randy Credico special counsel bit. As that's all going on, we have a whole bunch of other stuff brewing in the background in regards to Epstein, declassification, all kinds of stuff. And these are in-depth, really complicated topics that need a magnifying glass. And that's about it for now, guys. So I hope I did an okay job of explaining the Michael Cohen bit today. It is Felix Sater connected. So keep your eyes there. I'm going to try and work on a thread on Twitter for everybody. Again, I'm doing the Israeli intelligence piece. Somebody just commented about it. Yes. And just try and take a deep breath, because in the midst of all of the real information that's going to come out, we're going to get a ton of disinformation too. Fudge rule, meaning we wait at least 24 hours before we come to any sort of conclusion on fake news. And when I do my presentation at the American Priority Conference next week, one of the things I'm going to be talking about is how to sort fake news and prioritize it and figure out what's actually true. So there you go. I love all you guys. If you guys appreciate the work I do and you'd like to become a patron of mine to keep me doing this full time, I would be so honored to have you. You can find me on Patreon at patreon.com/TracyBeans with the Z. You can also find my PayPal address in the description box below. I really, really appreciate all of you guys. Let's stick together. There's a lot of information coming out, and we will dissect it all together, get through the noise, and come to correct conclusions. Have a fantastic day, and I will talk to you soon.